In the last few days, as I record this on April 20th, 2026, there has been a fascinating discussion, debate, conversation, some would say a feud, between the Pope and President Trump. The Pope recently came out against the war in Iran, calling for peace, calling for officials to stop using religious or spiritual language to describe war in spiritual terms, holy war and things of that nature, righteous causes. And so that has not set well with the Trump administration and the people who follow President Trump. And they have come out quite strongly against the Pope and his statements, saying very often in various ways the Pope needs to stick to matters of the church and stay out of politics. Now, many have pointed out that this is a bit different than some of the other statements that the Trump movement has made. It is that movement that has called for the Ten Commandments to be posted in public schools, has called for the Bible to be taught as part of history, has very often used spiritual language around war and global conflicts, both in Iran and in Israel and what is going on in the Palestinian territories. They very often invoke religious language. And so it's interesting that a group that is very publicly in favor of religion in public places now saying to a religious figure, stay out of politics. Now, this is not about Democrat or Republican. It's not about taking sides with President Trump or the Pope. It is an observation that I want to make about human nature. We're all fine with religion or a particular culture or a particular worldview being dominant in society, as long as it's ours. In fact, if our culture or worldview or religion is the dominant in society, that begins to feel like order. That begins to feel safe. Things feel secure. We feel like it's not only secure for us, but for our children and grandchildren to grow up in a society that reinforces the values that we hold dear. That feels orderly. That feels like things are the way they should be. And so, in many ways, having our worldview, culture, or religion be the dominant force of society would seem like paradise. It would be our greatest joy. Now, our greatest fear is the exact same thing. Having a dominant worldview or culture or religion, but it's someone else's. So it's not that we have a problem with religion in public places. It's just we don't really want to deal with other people's. We don't want others to have their religion or culture or worldview in that public space. We would prefer that they be silent and have ours set the order. And we sometimes have the idea, if that happened, well, they would come around. They may not like it at first, but they would eventually see that we're right. They would eventually see how much better their life is now that they are part of our faith or our worldview or our culture. They would see how good things are, and only the most delusional would fight against that. And so, since we all want safety, we all want security, we all want to feel like we're living in an orderly society, we want our side to win. And because we're so afraid of having the other side do the exact same thing, that's why we get so many images and rhetoric centered around war and the fight and standing up for what we believe against those who believe something else. And we can look through history and realize this has never worked. When a particular religion, culture, or worldview has imposed itself on other people through force, through military action, through cultural action, through economic action, whatever it might be, it has never worked long term. And so, what would we do instead? A couple of very difficult things, I think. One is we have to admit to the hypocrisy. It's really easy to see how the other side is being hypocrites. It's really easy to point out the hypocrisy in other people. But listen, we all want this. We all want the same thing. We want our side to win. We want our side to be dominant, and we're so afraid of the other side winning that we are willing to oppress in order to have our side be the dominant in society. It's hypocrisy that it's okay for us to do it, but it's not okay for them. And we have to admit that that's just part of our human nature. We're afraid of having the other side be dominant. And so we justify having our side be dominant instead. It's the dominance that is the problem. And that's hypocrisy. And we need to admit that in our own life. We need to see that not only in others, but in ourselves. And secondly, and this is very difficult, we're going to have to learn to live together. I know we don't like it, but there is no scenario, and again, history shows us this, there is no scenario that long term one side will win and impose its will on the world forever. That just won't work. Many have tried, and they've been able to, through force, through oppression, through tyranny, and through atrocities, they have been able to have their way for a while. Well, the end does not justify the means, and even going to those extremes, it didn't work long term. They were only able to hold that power for a while. And so there is no scenario that one side is going to dominate society forever. We're going to have to learn to live together. We don't like it, but we have to learn to hold to our values, appreciate our culture, our worldview, our religion, while simultaneously allowing others to have theirs and being respectful of it. We can have religion, various cultures, various worldviews in the public place, as long as we're willing to disagree with one another and still get along. And it's possible that that might just be the paradise we're looking for. And that's today's insight.